Hello and welcome to another lesson from Simply PE, this time in the A-level topic of sport in the 21st century. We've got a lot to get through today, so I'm going to ignore the first page. Really, you can have a read through there in terms of what you need to know in regards to the syllabus. You should be familiar now with the presentation, so let's get right to it. Okay, so first and foremost, 21st century Britain. So I want you to pause the video here. I want you to create a spider diagram, a brainstorm of words you would associate with what would you associate Britain to be like today. Okay, think of the social class, think of gender, think of law, anything about Britain. Off you go, 30 seconds. Okay, so hopefully you come up with a few different ideas and a few different words like democratic society, for example, freedom of speech. So these are some things that you might need to know just generally about the 21st century Britain. We're not going to go too much into politics here. This is more obviously a PE and sport related video. Okay, so obviously in terms of the class system, it's less pronounced than it ever was before. So we've got this middle class section now, which is so diverse and so big that the class system has started to fade away a little bit. But we do have social mobility. This is changing our social status. It's changing our location geographically, okay, meaning that our class isn't decided at birth. So we've got a democratic and multicultural society celebrating different races, ethnicities, religion, okay, all of that is part of Great Britain today. And we've got this idea of freedom of speech both at individual level and within the media. We do have quite a capitalistic society, so where job and business opportunities thrive, and obviously people look to try and make profit as much as possible. And obviously we've got this idea of awareness and equality, which is driven within society. So different campaigns, different things to ensure that we have equality within society. And obviously we've got legislation as well and law, okay, so we've got more and more different rights, whether it be human rights, whether it be looking at different court systems and so on within society today. And within that, we still do have examples of poverty and disadvantaged groups, and this is mirrored in sport in terms of how much participation happens among some ethnic minority groups, for example. And we've also got social injustice, don't we? We only have to look at issues in terms of America of late, as well as other social injustices that happen around the world in regards to discrimination and racism, and within Britain as well. Okay, so again, pause your video here. I want you to create this spider diagram, okay, over one page, all right? And I want you to get these 7 different tabs, okay, generating out of your spider diagram. And then within that, if you look at the example of law and order, if you can do that for each one, where you've got a section which is the 21st century factors, and then you've got the effects that those factors have on sport. Okay, now before we look at that spider diagram in greater detail, one other thing that we can get in terms of background of the 21st century sport is looking about the fact that sport today encompasses all of these different things. It's highly competitive, it's seen as a multi-million pound business, it's definitely media orientated. There's lots of technology which drives 21st century today. The majority of sports we now see as professional. There's lots of commercialization where businesses are involved in terms of showing off and advertising their brand. It's definitely globalized, the majority of sports, so seen across the different countries around the world. And also there is quite a big winning focus philosophy. Okay, so if we start to look at the social factors in regards to the 7 that you've got on your spider diagram. So first and foremost, if we look at the factors in terms of social class, so as I said before, the social class division is definitely less defined, okay? So there's it's more of a grey area now. It's not just upper and lower class as it used to be pre-industrial revolution. And we've got this movement which is quite fluid throughout the system, and as it says there, you're not decided in terms of your class by birth. So how do these factors have an effect on sports participation and sport just generally today? Pause the video here, see if you can come up with some ideas. Okay, so some things that you could have talked about is, though obviously there's a less defined class system, some sports will still unfortunately be associated by certain classes. You can see in the bottom left there, polo, generally speaking, is still kind of attained and participated by the upper class. And other sports, boxing is much more generalised now. It used to be obviously a lower class kind of participation, but not always now. Sometimes we have different people now accessing those sports as well. But ultimately, things like social mobility is hopefully achieved through sport, where we can change our status, we can change our location in terms of where we are, and we've definitely gotten a broadening of different classes that are now professional. It's not just the working class who are professional now. We have all different types of classes that are now professional. Okay, for the differentiation task within this presentation, you might want to try and answer them, see if you can investigate them, but we're not going to discuss them necessarily through the video. This one says, can you think of any other sports that are influenced by class still within the 21st century? Okay, so let's move on to gender next. So with regards to 21st century factors, we still have issues in regards to sexism, discrimination, which are continually challenged today. And there's an increased kind of awareness and role models within media who look to challenge these stigmas, so to speak. And things like campaigns like This Girl Can, Kick Out Racism in football, for example, are prevalent and big campaigns for here. And obviously, have a think now in terms of how these factors affect sport today. So again, lots of things here we could have talked about. There's an increase in women participation, as we're going to see in the next few slides. But ultimately, we still have a higher percentage of males participating than women. Some women now participate, as it says there, in men's sports, okay? And, you know, in the 21st century, we shouldn't really be thinking of any sports as just men's sports, so to speak. But we definitely have women who are breaking down barriers in taking part in what used to be referred to as more male-dominated sports. But we still also have gendering, okay? That's where we stereotype and where we look at some sports as being too girly or too boyish. Okay, netball is a good example, isn't it? There's no reason why males can't be playing netball, although it is still, on occasion, seen as being a more women and female dominated sport. And the same goes in terms of, as a sports there, obviously we've got equality in terms of prize, money and wages. We look at sort of Wimbledon tennis, for example. Only since 2007 have we started to see an equal prize money for males and females. Okay, but some sports still don't have that. Okay, we look at USA football. The women are paid 4 times less than in comparison to the men. Again, another differentiation task for you there. Which sports are still associated by gender? Think about that. See if you can come up with some answers. Okay, don't need to write this down, anything like that, but just worth you looking at this. Okay, pause the video here. Look at the male and female earnings in terms of $1 million back in 2017 for some of the males and females, and the disparity, the change in that in terms of the males getting so much more than women. And then also look here in terms of media coverage, okay, between male and female. Okay, the males being in the blue bars and the females in the orange bars. Massive difference, isn't there? Okay, and if we move on to law and order next, okay, so again, factors within the 21st century, we've got law and order, which continues to grow. We increase our knowledge now in terms of legislation and human rights and legal rights for that matter, and law is now being applied to problems that occur in sport. We have things like sports lawyers, we have prosecutions, we've got the Court of Arbitration for sports, for example, all examples of law and order within sport. Again, how does this affect sport today? And we've got a few things here that I just want to focus on a few of them. You can read them yourselves, really. But that legislation in terms of the law and order through things like hooliganism, where we have banning orders nowadays in terms of maybe to travel to different countries from prevalent hooligans. We've also got negligence against officials if officials referee poorly, for example, and potentially risk the safety of some of its players, especially in things like rugby. We've got litigation of where people can sue other people. We've got a good example in terms of Chelsea of the past, the medical doctor Eva Caniero, I think her name was, and there obviously she went down the legal route in terms of sexual discrimination because Jose Mourinho banned her after a kind of a mistake of her coming onto the pitch and taking a player off to reduce the team to 9 men. And then we've got other examples, don't we, in regards to Russia being banned in 2016, the Olympics, and Ben Flower on the left-hand side, you can see in the Rugby League final where he lost he lost it basically, and his aggression took over and he punched someone. Okay, so, physical assault. In terms of educational literacy, we can also see that we've got a variety of schools, mainly public schools and state schools now. A lot of grammar schools have now merged into state schools. And we've got PE, which is kind of curriculum, or PE, which is obviously within the curriculum, and it's compulsory. And we've got options at GCSE and A-level, which a lot of you would have been taking if you're watching this video. Again, how does these factors impact sport today in terms of participation and sport overall? And we can see there that obviously we should have an increase in participation due to the fact that we've got PE, which is compulsory, creates more opportunities in regards to inter and intra-sport, so internal and external sport against other schools, and obviously a variety of different qualifications at BTEC, sports science degrees, physiotherapy, sports therapy, and so on, okay, sports psychology. The list is endless. Pause the video. Here's your differentiation task. Think about looking at an England team of your choice. At cricket, I've given an example there, but you could look at rugby, you could look at netball. Google some of the players, okay? Find out which school did they go to. Did they go to state schools or did they go to some independent fee schools or private colleges and so on, okay? And why might this be, and how does this impact in regards to participation? Availability of time is the next one, and if we think here, we've got the technological advancements, which obviously free up time. Okay, we have more technology which is making our lives easier and quicker, which means that we have more free time and more flexible hours in terms of workplace. Again, pause video here. How does this affect sport participation today and sport generally? So you should have come up with some answers here. You could talk about the fact that we've got more leisure time. That should hopefully increase participation, whether it be through the gym or through just playing sport generally. We've now got gyms that are accessible for 24 hours, okay? That can change our lifestyle and our healthy, active lifestyles. Availability of time is the next one. Okay, and again, the fact here, we had a global recession back in 2008, which affected the disposable income of people, and even the COVID pandemic. Okay, that there's predictions of a further sort of global recession that may have an impact on sport. And that can impact sport in different ways. Obviously, we might have less participation if people are not having as much disposable income. It's definitely going to maybe decline the amount of people spectating, okay, so particularly the working class people if they've got less disposable income, and it might obviously decrease sports participation because obviously the cost of equipment and so on and so forth. Transport was the next one. Again, if we look at the factors here, we've got the fact that most households, not all, but most households will have access or own a car. And we've definitely got public transport, which is now widespread in regards to tubes, buses, but we've also got cheaper airline fares and more accessible. So travelling fans can go to different international events, competitions around the world. Again, how does this affect sport today in terms of participation and sport generally? Well, obviously it increases the accessibility in regards to people playing in other countries, definitely increase in regular fixtures and leagues and competitions being created, and also the international events becoming more regular. It 100% increases spectatorism, where people can travel more accessibly to countries worldwide. And then finally, I just want to focus on this Equality Act. And this Equality Act is an act that came about from Parliament, and this was introduced in 2010, and it was looking to build upon the anti-discrimination laws. Although I'm not going to go through this in detail, you can see some of the pros in regards to this Equality Act in sport and the against. So pause your video here just to work through some of those ideas for and against in regards to Equality Act in sport. And then finally, I wanted to show you that there is a rise in women's sport, especially things like football. If we look at the World Cup of 2019, okay, that fund prize money is rising, but still nowhere near at the level of men's. And finally, for the practitioners in terms of teaching and learning, you can see there some case studies, definitely getting some examples in for the AO2, especially in Law and Order, for example. Get students to research some of women's sport and football in particular, netball. Useful website link there from BBC Learning. Good luck.